One of the tools I really like using as part of the ESRI data and training modules is the Geodatabase tutorial that they created. It was a great way to learn what a geodatabase was and all the different components on how we can add intelligence to geodatabase objects. So things like working with feature classes and featured data sets to organize our data, creating domains and subtypes and relationship classes. So this was an excellent tutorial. Unfortunately, this did not seem to make it to the next level of moving into ArcGIS Pro. And for the most part, that's probably okay. Time marches on, and there are some new materials that ESRI is starting to put out. But if you're like me, you've used this as a staple to really prepare your students to understand the basics of a geodatabase, and then from there they can bring in their own data. So I really like this tutorial, but as I said, it doesn't work with ArcPro 2.5 for a number of reasons. One being ArcPro no longer supports reading personal geodatabases, so the Microsoft Access versions. So one of the things that I did was I converted that old Montgomery geodatabase that was the MDB that was used inside this project or inside this tutorial into a file geodatabase, so that way we can use it in ArcGIS Pro. So there are a number of things that we're going to do. I'm not going to go over all of these, but these are some great options that we can work with. So the first thing I want to do is look at the first four exercises. So in the first one, we're going to organize our data in our catalog. So we'll take a look at that. Then we're going to move into importing data into the geodatabase. And then from there, creating subtypes and domains, and then relationship classes. So I want to start with that. If there's enough traction and people want more, I can start to look at how you build geometric networks. I'm not as interested in these because I already do these things in other labs. So for me, these first four are the most important to get my students up to speed on how to set up a geodatabase and begin to add intelligence into those objects that are inside the geodatabase. Now, as you can see, what ESRI is saying that it's for a portion of a hypothetical city. And the hypothetical city they're looking at is Montgomery, Alabama. Now, I noticed there are some slight differences. I think they made some changes in terms of their geographic positioning. I don't really care about all of that. The geodatabase that they've created has most of the data. It has a coverage, an ArcInfo coverage. This is another tricky thing because ArcGIS Pro no longer supports the coverage model, but we're going to get around that, and I'm going to show you how. So there's water laterals. There's also an info table. So from Henco's Info, the old ArcInfo version of a database that has the parcel owner data. And again, one of the issues there is ArcPro does not natively or does not declare to support bringing in info tables. That's not entirely true. I'm going to show you ways around that as well. So again, we're going to use a database schema similar to what Montgomery, Alabama has used, but again, this is fictitious in nature, so it's just going to teach us the basics. So that's a basic introduction. Let's move on, and we'll do a quick tour of the tutorial and looking at our first exercise.